Aikido, Japanese art of self-defense. I've been giving it a lot of thought lately about all the teachers that I've seen, and it suddenly dawned on me that how things have changed in the modern Aikido world. When I teach a seminar, it doesn't really matter where it is in the world, but one or two of the students, you start to notice their style. They have a style, and each individual, if you go to a club, but there's one or two students come from other clubs, organisations, of course you're not introduced to them when you first bow in, but once you teach the techniques and you start looking at how they're doing them, you start to get themes of who they follow, what style they follow. And sometimes I'll notice that they're so clear that they look like a carbon copy of their teacher. I've found this happens more in the Western students than the Japanese students. It does happen in the Japanese students, but perhaps it was more apparent to me travelling more in Europe than other countries. And I would perhaps say to the student, oh, I see you are a follower of X. And I've normally been correct because they are so alike. But what I've then been thinking about recently is all the top teachers that was in my era, sadly past now. There's still Yamada Sensei. I've never trained with Tada Sensei. I've seen him on video and he's still alive today. I don't know, perhaps he's in his 90s, but so a very respected master. But the only one I've trained with who's alive today that I know of is Yamada Sensei in New York. And sadly his top student at the time was Donovan Waite, and he has recently passed. And it's very sad for me to hear that, because, you know, you make friends. If you're around long enough, you make friends, and you may not have great conversations on seminars and that, but you have conversations. Sometimes they can be deep. They may be in drunken stupor, but you make a bond. Going back to the lookalikes. So the students are trying to copy the teacher, and that I think is very good. 100% would back that for any student to do. But I also say that Saito Sensei said, go and see as many students as you can, teachers as you can. And I've always been a great believer in this, and it was wonderful when I heard his words acknowledge that we could. Too many teachers think that they can teach you all you need to know, and you don't need to look outside that. But so let's look at these people who are carbon copies of their teacher or a particular style. They don't really, I think, yet know if that is them, the real them. If you walk in any busy street, in my case, if I went to Cambridge, then there would be tourists from all over the world. They're walking down the wide paths of Cambridge in the shopping centres, and apart from perhaps glancing at the odd face, noticing that they're different, another nationality, they don't walk funny, or they just mingle and move the same as anybody else. They pick up their drink. If they're sitting outside cafe, they're eating their food. Nothing unusual. So people are, in this sense, all acting the same. And yet when we see them on the mat, they're all trying to copy someone, but their minds all thinking of different things. We don't know what each of us are thinking while training, but we're all thinking of something. The Japanese system, I've said before, is about copying. If they see it, they copy it. But these great masters, who thousands upon thousands of us have admired, taken something from them, gained great knowledge, understanding of technique, perhaps understanding better of one master than the other. Have you, any of you, seen any of these top masters that I'm talking about? It doesn't have to be Japanese, it can be Western, America. It doesn't matter where in the world that you've seen these masters, but the very best that stand out, do they look like anybody that you know? I haven't seen it, and in nearly 50 years now, it's the first time I've actually thought about it. I've tried to copy Saito Sensei over the last 20 years of my following him till he passed. I've seen students who are a carbon copy of him. If the distance or your eyesight wasn't very good, you would think that Saito Sensei was out there under the trees with his ken doing Saburi. The closer you would get, you would find it was one of his top third dan Japanese students. I won't say his name, but he was a carbon copy. Every action that he done was like a miniature Saito Sensei, and it was wonderful to see. But I can't say that I can give that title to anybody else. So in all my period, I've only seen one. The Western teachers that are here now teaching in different parts of the world, who spent time together in Iwama, or they were there for a period of time when another one was there at the same period. Some left, some stayed there. They have very similar Aikido style and technical way of doing it, but they don't look the same. So what is the answer? Well, I think they've actually found who they are. They don't perhaps even know it. If they took a video out of their friend who they spent time with in Iwama, or you spend time with on your tatami, you'll know that you're different than the others, they're different than you. But are the Shihan the same? The Ikkiyos? Yes. So the technical techniques we're all taught, but we have to adapt them to our body, ourselves. So when you film yourself, as you should, at least once or twice a year, and you look at that film, you'll be criticising the points that you have as weaknesses in your opinion. Perhaps you turn your head wrong, perhaps you bring your hand higher than your head, and you should keep it here. You know, there's all these criticisms that you will have. So, you know, do you kokyu the same way? Or do you make a circle when you kokyu? Or do you bring your arms straight up? These are characteristics that only you have. And you have them because they are you. And one day, hopefully, if you become a great influence in the world of Aikido, you will have your individuality that made this. Individuality, and for people to want to know you. Perhaps it's your charisma, But with charisma, you still have to have good Aikido. So there's a few thoughts to think about. Look at as many teachers as you can. Take parts from them that fit your jigsaw. Once you make them fit your jigsaw and you feel comfortable with it, take it as your own. You won't look like these individual teachers as a whole, but you may take the whole of what you absorb over the years, put it into your format, and when you walk down the street, you'll be walking the same as everybody else, not looking out of place. But when it comes to needing the action, or demonstrating on a mat, or being confronted in a situation where you need your martial art, only then will you become the person you are. And that's all we should be hoping for, to polish our techniques, to do our basics, but find out who you are. And one moment you will be Yamada Sensei, the next moment you may be Saito Sensei, Nishio Sensei, Asai Sensei, Sugano Sensei, Tamura Sensei, Noro Sensei. The list is endless. There's enough film out there now that you can see all these teachers. See what you like, practice and practice and practice on what you like until you're happy with it, and then go on to the next teacher until you've built up a chest in your frame, in your body, in your mind. Build your Aikido. Thank you for listening.